Give us a sense, you've got 20 billion Egyptian pounds to start off and kick you off with. What's the ambition? What size can this fund get to, and over what time frame?
All right. Just let me get this clear at the beginning. The fund is targeting assets way more than $20 billion. I think the $20 billion mark is a joint investment platform number that's been buzzing around, and this is targeting assets being contributed. Our aim is to create value on utilizing Egyptian assets. The government has done a lot of spending over the past 5 years. And now they're taking a step back, looking at the private sector to kick in. And it's interesting enough to hear about the stock market, and this is the view that we're promoting. We're promoting a view of come now in the private equity world, invest, exits, and the stock market will be an attractive market again over the course of the coming years. If we get with what we plan to achieve on re-attracting foreign direct investment, equities is part of what we're aiming to attract right now. Equity partners right now will enjoy better valuations in the future and actually better access to exclusive asset classes that have not been offered before. So we will widen the diversity of stocks on the market over the course of the coming years. This will be part of our thesis as well.
Oh, well, speaking of that thesis, I mean, part of it, as I understand it, is to steer capital into the parts of the Egyptian economy that actually need it. How are you identifying those parts or those sectors, and what's your thinking around that area at the moment? What specific sectors are you looking at?
All right. I think just by looking at the Egyptian economy, this is a populous economy. We have a wide consumer base. This is one of the largest economies in North Africa. So we are looking at attracting opportunities in the food sector. This is a very easy pick for investors. Infrastructure, energy. So these are sectors that have attracted all the investors. And we're scouting out a lot of appetite, looking at infrastructure funds, looking at logistics plays, looking at pharmaceuticals. So these are the no-brainer sort of sectors that everyone would tap in Egypt. At an early stage, stepping back into this market, it would be an easy transition into the market, especially into equities.
The no-brainer trades, that's going to be interesting to see what the exit strategy is on some of those. We also understand that you may be offering stakes in some of the companies run by the military. Now, could you give us a sense of what they are and what kind of size might that involve?
I think this is a speculative answer at best. We haven't had any discussion around these topics. There were talks about offering those companies to the market, but I don't know if the fund would have any role in this process or not. If we add value, that's the statement I always repeat when I get that question. If we can add value to any of these processes in offering those companies to the market, we would intervene. Otherwise, I don't see any value in us intervening.
Ayman, could you maybe elaborate on exactly how private companies are going to be involved in this process, whether there's a partnership to be had with private companies? And also, do you worry at all about crowding out the private sector with this very large, way more than $20 billion project, as you describe it?
That's a very good question. Our strategy is very simple. We will not crowd out any private investor. Our aim is to actually attract new money to the market. We will not be displacing any of the existing private investment funds in the market. We will not buy out any private sector investor. To the contrary, you will not see us competing for any of those transactions or any of the investment opportunities unless we get an invite to scale up an existing investor who needs that scaling up. Otherwise, our aim is we will create our own class of investments, our own class of assets that we will bring to the market. So those opportunities will not crowd out. If any, it will just widen the breadth of the market and the diversity of the offerings and the sector exposures. So we will not crowd out any private sector investor. Pardon?
Okay, that's probably going to be good news for the private investors. Can I ask you about who you are talking to? Who's most interested in bringing the capital to Egypt? We've seen the carry trade. That's been phenomenal. But in terms of real investment,
yes.
Is it the Americans, is it the Asians, or is it the European? Who are the most tempted to come to you?
Well, I'm an optimist by character, and actually the overwhelming reactions we've seen, we've been talking to investors throughout the last 5 to 6 weeks. all the investors and most of those investors that came to Cairo were actually the ones running the fixed income trades, and they're seeing the end of this rally coming soon. And some of those are actually very interested in coming back into the equities market or into the corporate debt market. And these are two offerings that we are eyeing very carefully to try and appease that demand as well. Appetite is coming from Asia, from the US, from Europe, so there's a very diverse base of investors that's coming in. We're also actually going to target green energy, and this is part of what had put Egypt on the map recently. And there's so much talk and traction about appetite coming into that sector. A lot of corporates want to tick that box, and I think we have what it takes to do that. There's also another piece of positive news in that regard with the electricity distribution company signing up a deal with Cyprus and Greece on a distribution of electricity. This will also help create a massive offtake on excess energy that we can create, and renewable energy plays can become a very attractive proposition in Egypt as well.